Okay, so welcome this evening. Tonight's webinar is hitting the reset button and dealing with setbacks for referees. That's the topic that we're going to go through tonight. My name is Claire Dowdall and I am the National Referee and Player Development Coordinator for Ladies Football. Tonight I have with me some special guests. I have Ian McLaughlin, the Ulster Development Officer.
Hi folks, thank you Claire for inviting me on.
He's going to look after all the questions and answers and making sure I don't miss anything. And we are delighted to have Jonathan Murphy with us this evening. Jonathan's one of our national referees, and he actually had the pleasure, for anybody that doesn't know, to referee the Winter All-Ireland, the first of a kind, last year in Grove Park. So Jonathan brings with him a whole set of experience, and would love to welcome Jonathan on here tonight as well.
Thanks very much, thank you.
So, folks, as I said, we are going to ask you a few questions, and if you have any questions, you don't have to wait to the end. If you see something, just stop us if it triggers something, and hopefully you'll enjoy this evening. The aims tonight are we're going to outline the role of mental preparation, understand reactions if things don't go well in a game and how to reset your mind, provide guidance on dealing with setbacks and challenges, ensure referees learn how to control the controllables. So try to focus on what you can control yourself. So hopefully we hit all them targets tonight. And just to get you going, I'm going to ask you a few questions just to start off. So do you prepare yourself mentally for anything that could happen during a game? So you just thinking there now, I'm going to stick the poll up. Do you prepare yourself mentally for anything that could happen during a game? Yes, no, or never thought about it before. Vote away there. Okay, so I'll just show you the results there. 75% said they do, yes, they mentally prepare, and so 2 of us have said they've never thought about it before. So that's good. Some people, if you haven't been thinking about it before, thank God you're on this webinar. Hopefully you'll leave here with a few tools to start thinking about it. So excellent. A lot of people are already preparing themselves mentally, which is really important. Just have another think about this question as well. Do you adapt easily to any situation? So you're out there refereeing and something happens. Do you easily adapt, or how do you handle it? So always, never, or sometimes. Because different people can find it challenging. Just a few more to vote there. So that's interesting. Our votes are in. I'm just going to show you there. It's sort of nearly 57% sometimes. So sometimes they find it easy that they can adapt to the situation, or sometimes they don't. And 43% were really confident in saying that they can always adapt. So that's really good findings there as well. And last but not least, do you accept accountability for actions and never seek excuses? So is that what type of person you are? When you're out there, are you accepting responsibility for your actions and never seek excuses? Can sometimes be hard to do because sometimes we don't even realize what we're doing. So always, never, sometimes. I want to share that again. So a lot of always in there. So a lot of people saying that they always accept accountability. So that's really good. That's a really good skill to have. That you look at yourself and you internalize things instead of looking to blame somebody else. So we're in a good start already. So what I'm going to go through is I'm just going to go through some definitions. So mental preparation, the act of mentally preparing oneself for a performance. So that's it in a nutshell, I think. People talk an awful lot about mental preparation, but as referees, you're going out there to referee and it's a performance. So you have to mentally prepare for that performance and what steps and stages it takes you to it. Reset. So that's something we're going to talk, because we're talking about hitting the reset button. Set again or differently. So if you can turn back the clock, or if you can hit the button, you're trying to reset it over. So if you're trying to change something differently or set it again, so you get another chance. And setbacks probably be another key one, especially for this webinar tonight. A reversal or a check-in progress. That's what a setback is. It's a reversal or a check-in progress. I like the way it says check-in because I think it's really important, you know, how you can see a setback. So something's happened, you know, can you use it to check in and see where you're at, and if you can go back or forth surrounding it. So hopefully we clear some of these up tonight. So let's get started. Without any further ado, I want you to type in the chat and Aidan can let us know what's in here. What do you think are the key ingredients referees need to help them mentally prepare? So in your thoughts, when somebody's asking you about this, what do you think the key ingredients a referee needs to help them mentally prepare are?
Visualizing scenarios is in there very quick.
Yeah, I agree.
Recall as well.
Recall, yeah. Anything else, Ian?
That's it, I'm sure. Oh, sorry, recalling the previous games he meant. So knowing the rules and what's right and wrong. Sure, there's maybe a few other people typing there.
Yeah, there's no rush. Johnny, what's your thoughts on this while we're waiting for some?
I would say nationally, I suppose, if you start off nationally rather than just being a county referee, nationally, I would never read previews of games or anything like that. So you've no kind of preconceived ideas going in that number 5 or number 3 is known for this or doing this, because that's not fair on them. That's if you have that idea, and then if you were thinking 50-50 on a decision, that's in the back of your head, oh, she's known for that, you take her or yellow card or whatever. I suppose just a general referee like us all, I suppose, going out on the pitch, I suppose being confident, knowing the rules, not being cocky, not being arrogant about it, but just knowing the rules and explaining. I suppose emotions as well, I suppose. I mean, if you're at work or if you're at home and you're having a bad day, not bringing that to the game, not taking it out on the players, but always speak. Speak like to be spoken to, you know, don't, your language, no bad language, nothing like that, you know, just.
Would you ever have like a routine before a game that you would always do, Johnny, or anything like that to help you both? Like, you know, we talk about having a warm up for our muscles, okay? We all do that. You know, do you ever, is there anything you do as a routine before a match that you sort of think helps you mentally?
Someone said there's something about imagining scenarios. If I was training or if you were going for a run or something like that, things are going through your head. Okay, if this happens, if that happens, what do you do? And hopefully you'll always have the answer in your head. Do you know what I mean? As you're exercising. But if you don't, you pick up the phone, you ring someone, you ring another referee and you ask them, if this happened, if that happened, what would you do? And where does that go, or what does that lead to? I think that's great, having another referee just to bounce ideas off of.
I suppose it helps you build your confidence really doing that, because you're saying, I was thinking I would have done this, what would you do? And if they're coming back with the same answer, it can really help boost
exactly. But you probably don't want someone to agree with you, yes man, the whole time. I mean, you need a debate around it. If listen, the rules are the same for everyone. I mean, so if the rule is the rule as such, if you know what I mean. But it's getting that scenario.
The rule is the rule.
It might be referee different, but the rule is the rule.
Yeah. No, definitely. Anything else in there, Aidan?
Just speaking about that, Claire, what you've covered there, repetitive routine for every game came up. Some quiet time, clear thoughts. And we have something in here from Omar. Do you ever rehearse comebacks for coaches or players when you're challenged? Says he tries to use humor and often rehearse possible conversations.
I wouldn't think that. I mean, I think when you're talking, if you're talking to someone that's that are constantly arguing with you or constantly disagreeing with your decisions, you should just explain your decisions. Probably warn him the first time, and I would take his name the first time, because if he's going to get more irate, at least you have his name the first time, and then if you have to talk to him a second time, you have to dismiss him. But there's no need for smart comments around that. Just explain to him what your decision is and what it's for. I think it's basically enough.
That's everything in the chat at the minute.
Brilliant. So we're going to go through qualities. You know, we talked Durham, we've covered a lot of it already. What are the mental qualities required for an ideal match official? The first thing, and I'm sort of picking it up already before even starting this, everyone's different. I think we must remember that. So some referees will obviously, you do different warm-ups. As I said, you would go out and I would warm up differently for a game maybe than Jonathan, and vice versa. So mentally, some people are going to like a bit of quiet time, a bit of space to get their heads right. Some people like noise and clatter and chatter. And it's about finding methods and tools that help you personally. So I think it's really important to remember that, you know, this is a personal stuff as well. But some things that can help you regarding the qualities is, and we're going to touch on this later, is control of emotions. You have to, as the referee, be able to control your emotions. If people are shouting at you, they're not shouting at you, they're shouting at that referee's jersey. Don't let that anger be reflected into, oh, they're shouting at Jonathan Murphy or Claire Dowdall, they hate that referee. It's a heat of the moment stuff. Most of the time they don't even realise what they're shouting. So you as the referee can't show any emotions. You have to just get on with it. You have to be the calm one and the person that moves the pace of the game and not get involved. So make sure that we're confident, and I think that comes throughout the games. Always be confident and back your decisions. That's really important, and build your confidence. And the way you build your confidence is by doing more games and reflecting on the games. What did I do well? What do I need to improve on? Be mentally alert. Refereeing is one of the most challenging things we can do in our organisation. And what I mean by mentally alert is you don't know where the next pass is going, or where there could be a flurry, or, you know, a bad tackle, or, as you say, something that happens in the sideline. So you have to be mentally sharp, always looking out, always anticipating and waiting to see what happens next. You know, the good referees can always nearly read in front, and that even comes to being mentally alert to move into this positioning because the ball's coming here, or making sure your positioning matches, and that's because you're really in tune with the game. Being positive, and that's something that people can laugh at, but you have to be positive with yourself and back yourself. If you keep telling yourself you're doing something not great, it's going to sink in there. But if you can create positive self-talk to yourself, it's going to really help you get over bad situations. You know, if something does happen, if you can go back to positive self-talk and say, you know, I'll get that the next time, that's okay. Let's go on and move into the next, you know, we'll think about that later. Let's park this. That's going to really help you in your mindset and help you move on. Concentrate. This is a big one. You know, for referees, concentration level, you have to be on the button the whole time. You're taking score, you're trying to tick players, you're watching the time. If you've sin bins, you're checking your watches. There's a lot going on. So you have to be concentrating next on every play, up to speed and ready to go. So that takes a bit of time. And that's even if you're breaking it down, you know, 5 minutes into the game, 10 minutes, 15, 20, you're always in the moment. And that will help limit sort of mistakes or errors. And with the emotions, being calm under pressure, I just think is so important. As I said, when you're in the middle, you're controlling. You're like the conductor of the orchestra. You know, that's up to you to control what's going on, and you're the one that's calm and steady because you're not playing. So nothing really. The huge things aren't at stake to you as maybe as a player and a manager. So you're able to control your emotions and maybe set a good example and set the pace for it. You know, and not switching off. So that's what I have. Did I miss anything there, Johnny, on qualities?
No, I think that's all good. Confidence, like what I said, is that comes from knowledge as well. It comes from knowing the rules and everything like that, as well as being physically fit as well, and it helps.
Yeah, that helps. If you're fit, it helps. It helps ahead. Mental toughness is something as a referee. You know, you really have to be mentally tough, because it's very easy. People, you know, it's very hard to keep both teams right, both set of spectators, both set of management. You know, somebody's always going to try to blame the person in the middle and you know, they should be looking at themselves. It's definitely not the right thing to do. But as a referee, that's why it's so important that you have mental toughness. You have that ability to go, this is a game. I'm here to do my best. I'm being fair. I'm in control. And I'm going to referee to the best of my ability. And that takes a lot of mental toughness, even in terms of if you do have a mistake or there is an error, you know, how do you overcome it? So there is a lot of stuff that you can talk about here. And we're talking about sort of control. So life control, you know, is there things in life that are helping shape how you're going to control yourselves in the game? Emotional control, which we're going to cover, is how you showing your emotions. Don't let your emotions bubble up. Have you got a good hold of them so you can move the game on? You know, we talk about confidence. Are you confident in your own ability? And you know that straight away, I think, from a referee. You can tell me this, Johnny, it's something I believe. I can nearly tell you if a referee is confident. By my two big things for me, I don't know if you agree or not, would be body language.
Yeah, 100%.
And
yeah.
how to use their whistle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how you carry yourself, I suppose. You know what I mean? If you don't believe that decision, how do you get 200, 300, 400 people to believe that decision? You know what I mean? If you shirk away from 50-50, the decisions that are there to be made, you have to make them. You're not there to make the popular decision. You're there to make the right decision, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And you can tell. So you have to build that confidence in yourself. That's that interpersonal confidence. As Johnny says, you know, and even if you know, you stay strong with that decision. You know, that's what you do. You blow it, and that's what you've made there and then. After the game is when you reflect, you know, was it right, was it wrong? But during that moment, you have to back your ability, and you have to keep backing your ability, because that's what you're there to do. And people put you out in the pitch, and that's what I would say. You're given that game because people have backed you to be there. You know what I mean? I would have rang Johnny even before his All-Ireland final, and I said, you're there because you've earned to be there. You know, if we didn't have full confidence in your ability, you wouldn't be in there in the biggest day of the year. And I think that's what every referee has to remember. You know, you're being put out onto the pitch because somebody else backs you. So don't, you know, back yourself, I think is one thing I would say.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
You know, challenges, you know, this is the big one for me. And this is why learn from everything. I love this. I think you should learn every day you go out. Everything you do. Every day is a school day. I know people say that, but it should be that you should have an open mind that you're going to go and you're going to learn from every game. You're going to learn from every training session, and you're going to stretch yourself. That's it. You're not just going to sit in your comfort zone. So if you're out here now and you're refereeing under 16 club matches week in, week out, you know, why don't you contact the fixture secretary and ask for a senior game or a junior game or a minor game? You have to stretch yourself. The only way you get better is by pushing yourself up and believing that, look, I can take that step to the next level. And that's about stretching yourself as a referee and having that confidence in you. And then your commitment, you know, you have to be orientated, you know, goal orientated and delivery orientated. You know, that's your aspiration. Where are you sitting with it? And if you combine these all together, like it's a big pie chart, they're all coming in to help your mental toughness, to keep you right. And we're going to talk about it. You're going to have challenges, you're going to have setbacks, but if you have all of them and you're thinking, look, this happened, but this is my goal, this is how I'm going to get to my goal, I'm going to stretch myself. I might, you know, have to learn from this scenario, but I'm going to keep on doing it, and I'm going to get more mentally tougher as I go on and strive.
Definitely learning from everything, I think, Claire. Definitely, like what you said, the more games you do, the better you get, and that's just it.
I always say you don't learn anything from sitting on the sofa, Johnny.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. So
unless you put yourself out there, yeah. You know, yeah. And something we don't often talk about is emotional intelligence. And I don't think that's just an Irish thing. We don't really talk about the emotional side of things and how that can help things. And emotional intelligence is basically, it's the ability to handle emotions in a way that enhance your productivity, personal power, and a quality of life around you. It involves making your emotions work for you. So really, in a fancy word, this is about how you control your emotions to make you the better referee. So when you get that adrenaline, you're using it to make that sprint up the pitch, to make that good call. You're using your emotions in a positive way. You're using it to help react. You're not using it in a negative way. And that's what makes the best referees, really. You know, referees, you as a referee, you have to realize you're dealing with a wide variety of emotions as players strive to compete. So no matter what level you're refereeing at, you're going out there and there's 15 girls against 15 girls and you all want to win that game. And things get heated. Things get heated between calls on the pitch. You know, I'm literally just back from the pitch there now, and we had a challenge game, and I shouted on to the referee, that was high, you know, and I stopped myself then straight away. But this is what I mean. You're emotionally involved in that moment. The person on the line and the players on the pitch, they only see it through their eyes. I only see it through my eyes and my team's eyes for that period of time. Where the referee, which is you, have the ability to see it through the clear eyes. You know, I always think ours are always a bit dazed, because they're your own players. You know, if it was a neutral match, you wouldn't be saying anything. So the ref always has hopefully a clearer picture, and that's what their emotions should be. They should be the calmest person on the pitch. And how the referee handles their emotions can have a significant impact on your effectiveness and the enjoyment of others involved in the game. You know, you're not letting it get the better of you or sort of bubble up around you, I suppose, is the big thing.
I think probably breaking games down as well, Claire. I suppose if there is a bad not bad, but a decision maybe that you make wrong, that move it on and get on, break the game down in every 5 or 10 minutes and say next decision, you know. Don't dwell on it.
And then it flies in that way as well when you're breaking it down, Jonathan.
Yeah.
So self-control, this is something I need to learn. So I think we can all get a bit better at self-control.
Okay.
So self-control is the ability to perform well under a variety of stress-producing circumstances. Self-control requires the intelligence to manage yourself and those around you in emotionally changed situations. You can't control what happens in games and certain circumstances, but you can choose how you will react. Self-control is based upon the relationship between thoughts and emotions. We know that our state of mind influences our emotions, which in turn energizes our performance. It's important that as the referee, you keep your emotions in control during a game, no matter what the situation is. The greatest danger to official self-control are the internal or external distractions that can destroy concentration and trigger negative thoughts. Officiating is the process of reading and reacting, with officials reading the ever-changing flow of the game, choosing and executing the correct response. I love that. See that wee bit. I just want to highlight it there. I think it sums a lot of it up about referees. Officiating is the process of reading and reacting. I think that's for me, that's spot on. The referee has to read the game and react to the game and react within the rules, and that all helps keep it in control and keep the self-control and keep the emotional control in place. And the referees that are really good at that are usually the ones that climbed at the top. You know, they're calm and they're able to read and react, and they're able to. People are talking about different situations. If somebody challenges you or somebody does this, a referee that's in complete control nearly stops that from happening because of how they're officiating. They really are in control of the whole situation. Successful officials excel at both reading the game and knowing how to ignore distractions. You know, that's what they do. They're able to know when to switch it off and switch it on. Renew and recall what you're doing in order to grow and improve. So always looking in order to grow and improve throughout it. So there's a lot of stuff there surrounding that self-control, if you can see it there. Like for you, Johnny, what would you pick out in terms of that?
I suppose an incident just gone in the All-Ireland just gone was probably the penalty that I gave to Dublin. There was no doubt in my mind that it was a penalty, but when I had given the penalty, everything was saying, back here, you know, people shouting behind you or whatever, that's a pull down, that's a yellow card. So not alone in my mind am I going, it's a yellow card, or no, it's a penalty. And then I'm thinking, okay, is it a yellow card? Is it a pull down? Is it a hold? You know, and these are all going through your head. So, but what I had given and what I was confident in my first decision was, and it's nearly right, 95% of the time is your first thought, it was a hold and it's a penalty. But yet still people are roaring at the back of your head. And that's putting something in your head as well, you know what I mean? Is it a yellow card? But I was 100% confident of a penalty and just a hold. But there's someone, and then I suppose the opposition are then shouting, I suppose it's no penalty, you know what I mean? So there's a lot there's a lot going on just within that 10 seconds that you have to decide. I suppose what you've always instilled in those, I suppose, is think fast, walk slow. So even I had them 5 seconds to walk to even the penalty spot to signal. It was still going in my head. I could have still signaled the penalty and then went to the goalkeeper and given the yellow, but I was confident in my mind that the penalty was a penalty and it was given for the hold. It wasn't given. Yeah, never mind all the noise looking for a yellow card as well.
So that's a brilliant example, because you're just showing there you had a big decision to make. You have to control all the emotions at that time, especially a penalty in an All-Ireland final. And there's the internal and the external distractions. They start playing straight away. And I'm delighted you used my line. Think fast, walk slow. I recommend it to anybody, and that's you mentally getting your decision right. People talk about a lot of things, but that is the mental element of it straight down there. You only have them couple of seconds to make that call, and you can't let your emotions get in top of you. Exactly.
And it's usually your first instinct. Your instinct is right. That's, your first instincts. Listen, okay, if you can look back on it or whatever and say, oh God, but learn from it. If that does happen, learn from that. But usually your first instinct is always right.
I thought we had something there, a question. So some tips to improve self-control. So these are just a couple that we pulled out. Awareness. Analyze when loss of control occurred in the past. Why, when, and where did it happen? So it's really important. What in that game, where did I lose that bit of control? Be aware, and why did it happen? And just take a note of it. And that way it can help you coming around to fixing it. Understanding. Realize why your thinking changed and how it caused an emotional imbalance. Differences. Remember examples of when you kept control and lost control in similar circumstances. What were the differences in your attitude, your emotions, and your behavior? So you can become more consistent if you understand it. Problem. Try to find the problem. I.e., is it a sense of failure? No, it's not just, oh God, I made that mistake. Why did you make the mistake? You have to try and dig a bit in deeper. Why does that thing keep happening? Why do I keep making the same error? Belief. Raise the expectations you have of yourself. Include self-control as one of your virtues. Work on it. Work on the mental side of your game. Just don't leave it to the end. Reinforcement. Behavior change is accelerated by reinforcement. So reward good behaviors. So that's important. When you are doing it well, it's important to reinforce that behavior. I did make a good call. That game went really well for me. I'm really happy with A, B, C. They were part of my goals, and I'm making them goals. And always set yourself a series of achievable small goals that will affect change. So change can take time, so don't be afraid to work on change. And that can even go on to your mental preparation. If you start working out how you want to mentally prepare, it can take time. Like at the minute, I'm trying to start doing a standing desk, work with standing up and down during the day. I just didn't start today by standing all day. It's a change. And for that change to happen, I'm doing it every 10 minutes in an hour. It's exactly the same, because I'm trying to mentally prepare myself to get into being able to stand for an hour a day or 2 hours a day or whatever. It's exactly the same when you're refereeing. If you want to change something regarding your refereeing, even if it's regarded as your positioning, or, I'm not happy where I'm sitting in kickouts, you're going to gradually bring it in and keep on saying to yourself, God, where was I for that kick out? I got myself out of place. I need to make sure I'm standing off centre every time. And you're just constantly watching it. And when you are doing it, you're rewarding. That went really well. And that's why I've seen a change. And when you forget about it, you're trying to get yourself going, right, this is what I need to do, and getting back into the mood off it again. Techniques. Build a series of behavioural techniques for maintaining calm and self-control. How you will react to pressure. Guys, this is a real individual one. There's a load out there and we're going to go through them. But if something happens, how are you calming yourself down and keeping yourself controlled? Especially under pressure. Everybody will react slightly different. I know me as a player, and people might laugh, but it really, really worked for me. When I got really angry or really, really frustrated as a player when I was playing, and I knew, I all of a sudden it got to a point I went, oh God, I need to calm down here before I get sent off. And believe it or not, I used to count out loud, and I didn't care. I'm sure I looked like an absolute idiot, but I counted to 10 out loud and breathed, just completely stopped what I was doing and counted to 10, breathing. And that just completely reset my mind again. And that honestly really, really worked for me. And that's what I always say to people, find what works for you. It might be breathing, it might be a movement, it might be a word. But when you get yourself into that when you think you're losing a wee bit of control, you have to find something to sort of trigger yourself back in again. Planning, achieve your goals by following a planned program. Progress, improvements come in a series of ups and downs, so be patient. And setbacks, and this is true, accept that setbacks will occur from time to time. Be tolerant and become even stronger mentally. And to me, that's probably the biggest one in that. Setbacks are going to happen. Please embrace them. Really use them as a learning opportunity. Don't let yourself crumble under it. Everything isn't, your referee pathway isn't going to go like that. Nobody's pathway is like that. It really is going to go like that. You're going to have ups and downs, and you're going to have good days and bad days, and you're going to have setbacks, but embrace them, learn from them. It'll make you better in the long run. What are you thinking there, Jonathan? Have you anything like regarding techniques? Is there anything you would do to maybe help keep you calm?
I think what you said was breathing. And like I don't tend to get overworked too much. I think communication, and I'm saying that with players and with management and with everyone. I mean, if you're explaining what it's for, and then they say, okay, all right, that's fair enough. Do you know what I mean? That's what it is. Do you know what I mean? I suppose awareness of the loss of control. I suppose sometimes referees can be under a lot of pressure to, I suppose, let the game flow as such. That's not our job. Our job is to blow the freeze, if you know what I mean. Don't be afraid to blow, blow the first free, blow every free, I suppose. But the game would tendency to flow more than maybe after 15 or 20 minutes, because they'll know, okay, listen, he's not going to let that go. He's not going to let this go. He's doing it by the rules. And then it'll probably turn out to be a way better game than you trying to let the game flow as such. Yeah,
no, definitely. I completely agree with you. Aidan, what about you? Aidan's coached at such a high level and played. I'll say you played at a high level too, Aidan. In terms of this, have you anything regarding you would give advice regarding self-control?
I'm a bit like you. I nearly sometimes need to get a bit angry before I feel as if I can really play, or I'm nearly somebody shout something at me as quick as possible here to get going. But no, probably as I've got older, I used to be a bit mad like that when I was younger. Probably got older now, I'd nearly think.
That's goalkeepers. I think all goalkeepers are mad.
I try not to run the pitch as much anymore, and I just try to keep it as simple as possible. And I just try and keep telling myself, you've trained, you've done all the hard work. If things go your way, you're grand. But probably since I came into the Royal Ulster Ladies and you start working and meeting your referees a lot more, I've made a conscious decision to not try my best to ever have a go to referee, because I know that the serious amount of work and effort referees are putting in. And if we lose a game, it's not because of a referee, it's because we maybe done something tactically wrong or kicked too many wides or gave away too many frees. It was our fault. So as you said earlier on in the presentation there, it's somebody's always looking to blame the man or the woman in the middle. Yeah. And 99% of people still are, but I always think when we go home or we get back in the change rooms and we look in the mirror, that's who's cost us the game. So I probably, in the twilight of my career now, I'm probably calmed down a lot compared to what I used to, and realize that the referees put in as much, if not more, work than us. So if we lose a game or we give away a free, then 9 times out of 10 it's our fault, and it probably was a free as well. So just coming in there, Claire, I was going to wait to the end of this. We do have a question, and I might even it's from Maria. Maria could maybe come in and ask it herself, maybe, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Unmute herself.
She probably needs permission to.
Oh, maybe I can call it out if she's not in the next second or so. So Maria she just put in the Q&A there. So she's wondering, if you're reffing a game and a parent or someone has a go, what could you do? She says she knows you have to remain calm. And is there any way you can help with your questioning, or how do you report it, or how do you sort it without causing any more confrontation?
I suppose it depends on what age group it is, I suppose. I remember being at an under 11 game one time, and this lad, he shouted in abuse. It wasn't nice, like it wasn't nice at all. I stopped the game, and I went over to him and I said, "You won't speak to that like anyone here, and if you speak to it like it again, you're gone." And he said to me, "I'll speak to her whatever way I like. She's my daughter." But that, to me, I said to him, "You will not, as long as I'm here, you will not talk to anyone on that pitch like this again." And that was it. That was the end of it. That was the end of it. It depends on how bad it gets, but I think sometimes something like that has to be, if it's that bad, not confrontation, but even maybe even go to whoever's over the team and explain to them what's going on, and that if it doesn't stop, maybe the game will have to be abandoned if it's that bad.
Yeah, you have to address it, that's for sure. You know,
definitely. Because if it's going on in the first 5 or 10 minutes, what's it going to be like in the 40th, 45th minute? You know, just underage games, it shouldn't be happening. Shouldn't be happening, realistically.
I suppose there's a couple of ways you can do it too, Jonathan. You can go over yourself and take their name, and you know, it depends again how bad it is. But most teams as well, especially all the ladies teams, have to have a female liaison officer.
Liaison officer, yeah.
And I know sometimes that's the way they go. You know, you call them over with you too, you know, and say, look, this is unacceptable. The language being used here, you're going to have to ask your coach to stop this, or you know, if it's that bad, you take their name and you put them out. It's as easy as that. You know, you don't take it. And reporting it wise, it's easy, Johnny, isn't it? You put it in your report card and you send it.
Exactly. I do say so sometimes. The people or the person in question can be so irate, they just won't listen to you, Claire. So I think sometimes it's a waste of time. Like what you said, maybe go to the floor and talk to them and address it that way, and give her a chance to talk to him, then that she might listen to him. But like what you said, if he doesn't, take his name and out he goes.
Yeah, and I think maybe what she wants a bit of advice in is when you address it. So I'm right in saying, you know, if I'm the manager, Johnny, and I'm giving you a bit of stick, you know, how do you come over and you know, take my name? I suppose body confidence.
Yeah. And I like what I touched on earlier. I would always say, I would always take their name first, even on the warning. I just say, listen, it's just a warning. Okay, what's your name? You know what I mean? He'll give you your name, Sean Murphy, whatever. Okay, Sean, listen, we can't have any more of that language, any more of that constant question my decisions. If there's any more of that, you'll have to go. Okay. So now at this stage, you have his name. Okay. So if this is getting worse, if you have to go over to him the next time, Sean, you have to go. That's it. Whereas if you don't have his name for the first time and he knows that he's going because you have to warn him already, he's not going to give you his name. It's not an open hell. He'll just go and then you won't know who it is. Whereas if you could approach it calmly and say to him, listen, this is a warning. What's your name? You know what I mean? If he knows it's only a warning, he's more likely to give you your name. That he knows that he's not going, that he's still going to stay, like what I said. And then if it continues, at least you have his name and you can go over and address it then straight away. Sean, you're gone, on you go.
And I think that's important. That's the self-control there, Johnny. You know, you're still staying really calm. Your emotions you aren't getting wound up. You aren't letting it bubble over. You're dealing with what's in front of you and you're staying calm and doing it.
Yeah, you're not getting into an argument. The last thing you want to do is get into an argument. You know, you just explain to him what he's gone for, and that's it.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully that answered that for you, Maria. So we'll go on here, and this is important, I suppose, as well. We're going to ask you for a wee bit of feedback here. How would you handle negative feedback? So how would you, as the referee, handle some negative feedback? It could come from an assessment. It could be one of your umpires. It could be, you know, somebody in the crowd that knows you, or, you know, how would you as the referee handle negative feedback? If you want to pop it in the chat.
The first one in from Niall, don't take it personal. And Maria comes in with take it in what they're saying, try and address in a calm manner. So take in what they're saying, but try and address it in a calm manner.
Listen and take it on.
Listen and take it on, yeah. Sorry, Claire.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's it at the minute.
Anything else, are you?
One from Omar there, I never react. I thank whoever there is, and I sit on it, right or wrong, for as long as I have until I'm willing to sit down and tackle it. I plan a way forward to avoid that comment in the future.
Okay. So I want to throw this at Johnny, you know. How would you handle negative feedback?
We do assessments, so as you know, we're used to negative feedback. I've had one in, looking back, probably not one of my worst ones, but one of the ones I learned from, I suppose.
Yeah.
I done a quarter final in 2016. No issues, not much, whatever, 4 or 5 points to the game, cracking game. I just thought it was a good game, a great game. No issues, no cards, no penalties, nothing like this, no big issues. I got my assessment. It was shocking, to be honest. And I learned more probably emotionally from that, rather than not the things that I missed, not the fouls that I missed. It was the emotion of it. I suppose thinking I had done a great game, and then 2 or 3 days later you get something in the post and it says that you haven't been as good as what you thought you were. I went out and did a game 3 or 4 days after that as well, and I had no confidence whatsoever. It was gone. It was gone. I was blowing frees, and I was saying, someone was saying to me, that wasn't a free. And then I was thinking,
yeah,
maybe it wasn't a free. You know, it was just gone. And it probably took 2 or 3 weeks to build that back up. And like what you said, the only way to build that back up was games again. It was games. But that's one of the standout moments in mine. Like what I said, I learned more probably emotionally than the frees that I missed, that I did genuinely miss, but I didn't see him. The assessor spotted him in fair play, but it knocked me for 6. It knocked me for a couple of weeks for that. But you learn from it, you know. If you don't learn, if you think you know everything, I would just throw the whistle in the bag and throw everything away and forget about it, because no one knows everything.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose I want people to think, you know, how do you react? You know, I'm sure you're going to come across it. If you haven't came across some negative feedback at the minute, you know, you probably will come across it at some stage. And I think you have to be ready of how you're going to react. And you probably, Jonathan, weren't ready for an emotional reaction. You probably hadn't thought that
No.
You know, that, and I loved how you said it affected your confidence. Not that I loved that it affected your confidence, but, you know, it does. I think when somebody says something about you, it does chip, you know, it can chip at you.
Yeah. I mean, like what I said, I mean, I went out to do a match a couple of days after that, and I'll put up my hand and say, I was shocking. I was shocking because I had no confidence. It was gone. I couldn't carry myself. I wasn't sure whether it was a free or not, although I was blowing the whistle. Like what you said, the whistle, maybe half blowing a whistle, or do you know what I mean? And that's how we control the game, is with your whistle. That's what the whistle is for, is to control the game.
So I think it's really important to look at and think, you know, how do you feel if somebody says something negative to you, and how do you react? Do you blame the assessor that wrote the report, or the umpire that said it to you? Or do you reflect in it yourself? Do you look back at yourself and say, you know what can I take from this to move forward? And it can affect people in different ways. So it's about trying to spin your head into the right way. Does it affect you negatively? And what I mean by that is, does it make you angry, frustrated, fearful, or reduces your confidence because you've had this and you go, I'm no good, you know? Have you let it take that effect on you? Or for some people, having some negative feedback, and I laugh because Aidan said it earlier, he needs somebody to shout at him nearly before he gets going. It's exactly the same for feedback. some people, it can really ignite a sparking. So it can light a fire under you. They go, okay, they said that. You know, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to be better the next day. You know, I'm going to take that feedback and I'm going to make sure that that assessor never says that again. They're never going to say that I missed them fouls again, because I'm so pissed off, but I'm going to channel it in a way now that I'm going to prove everybody wrong. So you have to be conscious of what way you handle it with it. But what I will say, and I do really want to make this point, if it's positive feedback or negative feedback, I think both, a lot of these can be used for both. And the first one I have down there is credible. Is the person that's giving you that feedback somebody you trust? You know, if it's Joe Soap standing at the side of the pitch that doesn't know the ladies' football rules, saying, you missed the shoulder charge, you bollocks, you know, they're not credible. Yeah.
Or the black card,
Yeah. Oh, that's a black card, ref. Water off a duck's back. You got to let them ones. So what I will say regarding whether it's positive or negative feedback, is it somebody credible? Is it somebody that you trust? Somebody that's there to assess you, that knows the rules and has a knowledge of the game. And B, and people are afraid to do this, and I think it's really, you know, ask clarifying questions. If somebody's took the time and wrote a report about you, they're trying to provide you with feedback, and you're unhappy with something, you're not getting into a row, you're trying to learn. So ask some clarifying question. You know, when did that incident happen? Will you refresh me? Or what do you think I could have done better there? Or why do you think I possibly might have missed that? You know, don't be afraid to ask some clarifying questions, because again, it's a part of your learning process. It's not a personal attack. So, you know, that's why the wee heart emojis there, you know, don't be heartbroken with it. A lot of the time, if it's feedback, hopefully it's constructive. It's to make you better. It's supposed to be a learning tool and not an attack, and it shouldn't ever be an attack. Self-reflect and reframe. So have a wee look in that mirror that we talked about and try to reframe it. So try to pull the positive side off. That's what I said about maybe use it as a tool to ignite you. So if you're pulling out and they're saying, you know, you've missed 3 yellow cards and they were all down to tickings, you know, then you say, okay, I'm going to reframe this. I done well on the rest of the things. They said I'm missing my ticks, but I can control that. That's something I can get better at. So I'm going to put a goal into place or a plan into place to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. Process it all, you know. And I think the tick determine whether it's constructive or destructive, and that's up to you. You have to try and work out, is this constructive? And then you can move forward with the feedback, because you want to listen to it and take it on board. And I'm being honest, see if it's destructive, put the fingers in the air. You know, nobody knows that job more than you when you're out there. You don't need to listen to destructive. You don't mind anybody giving you feedback if it's going to help you go forward. You don't need anybody chipping away at you negatively. So if you have somebody there chipping at you negatively that isn't constructive, like for me, something is constructive is if I see something in a game, I would pull a clip and I would say, can you review this clip, Johnny, and give him a 1-minute passage and ask him to review it. That's constructive. Where if I turn around and say to somebody, you missed 3 yellow cards there, you missed a high tackle, you missed. He isn't learning anything. All I've just told him is you've missed, in my opinion, instead of letting him have a look and say, oh, well, you know, I think maybe I should have called this, or I think that was an excellent call, or I think that was a good advantage. But I'm serious with this one, probably more than anything. If it's not constructive, don't listen to it. Don't let it be destructive, because it's going to chip at your confidence and experience. Go on ahead.
I think another referee is great for that. Another referee in your county. Ask him to come and have a look. Maybe a more experienced referee. Ask him, come and have a look. Not an assessor necessarily, you know what I mean? But come on, if he's able to give you at least 1 point to improve on, at least that's one to improve for the next match, you know?
Yeah, and experience. And I think that's important. Feedback helps you with experience. That's what it does. It creates an experience that you can go to the next time you're out, the next game you're out when something similar happens. It all builds up, and the only way you get any of that is by games, and continuously putting yourself out there with it. So just another wee scenario for us here, and I'd love you to have a look at how do you react. That's the question. How do you react to this scenario? You've made a decision in the first half of a match, which at the time you believe was correct. It has caused a lot of controversy and has caused the crowd and team management to turn on you. The atmosphere at the match has changed. This has caused you to reflect at halftime, and upon reflection, you feel your decision was wrong. How do you react? I'd be interested to see your thoughts here. If you want to put them into the chat.
There's nothing in yet, but I think once I get one, we'll probably get everybody.
Yeah, they're probably just typing in.
Stay calm, own up, and say sorry. That's the first one in. I'm sure everybody else is typing, so we'll just give them another wee 20. Say why you've made the decision as well was part of that first one.
Okay.
Refocus and get on with the second half. Explain that's how you saw the call at the time.
You watch the chat and I'll fire it over to Johnny here. Johnny, now I'm not saying this has happened to you before, but what would your advice if something like this did happen?
Someone said this, just get on with the second half. I think is a lot of it. I don't think you can deal with it there in the second half. It has to be dealt with after the game, and then you can assess why did you miss it?
Yeah.
How did you miss it? And if you did miss it, sometimes you might overthink it in the second half, and you might think, you might can play tricks on you, and you actually did make the right call. But I wouldn't think too much into the half time. It's after the game I would be thinking about that. And
that's sort of, in a scenario like that, a lot of stuff can happen, and maybe you can just talk through these, Johnny. How does it affect your second half performance and focus?
Obviously, everything is next free. Get the next free right. Get the next free right. Do you know what I mean? Don't let it build up. Listen, I said it 3 or 4 times already. Communication. I mean, if they're still at you, listen. If I made a mistake, we can't go back to it and correct that. That decision is gone. Forget about it. Get over it. Get on with the second half of the match, and we'll start the game. Because it can be constant. They might keep bringing up that decision if you don't address it. The decision is made. I made the decision. Forget about it. We'll move on and play the second half.
So I think that's really important, and I loved how you said next free, and that's what it should be. Next play. So
next decision, even let that not be a free. Decide not to give a free, or decide to give a free, whatever that is. It's a decision that you have to make.
So it shouldn't affect your second half performance and focus. You shouldn't be letting that. That's left. That's done. That's parked. We can't do anything about that anymore. So put it down to experience and move on. That's where you have to start getting your mind into. How do I put that down to chalk it down to experience and move on to it? Do you overcompensate with the team you ruled against and make up for it for your error?
You're going down the wrong path there. I mean, that's just totally going against it altogether. I mean, you have to be impartial at the end of the day. So if you're trying to even out things, God knows where you'll end up in the 50th minute. You said, like, you could have one team a yellow card and then there's another 50. I won't give them a yellow card because I should have done this to them in the first half, or I shouldn't have done that. Like, you know what I mean? You're going down the wrong road altogether. Just start again, reset like it's the start of the match. Forget about the decision. Like what I said.
Overcompensating, you could end up making 5 more mistakes because you went, let that go. So,
refocus and try and get every decision right. Let it be free or not a free. Just try and get every decision right after that.
And if it has happened to you, if you're the type of person that loses confidence and focuses on overanalyzing the area, error, like you're on the road to nowhere. I think Johnny's wrapped it up all there really well. It's the next decision, the next decision, the next decision. You have to park it. And he said it from the very start before he even seen these questions. He said, you have to park it, and it's something you reflect on after the game.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't fix it there and then. Don't be coming back out and saying sorry to anybody. Don't be coming back out and saying, oh God, oh Jesus, I'm sorry about that. And then they're all going, that referee said they're sorry. Oh my God, it was a goal. It should have been a penalty.
Yeah, you're losing straight away. No matter what you do, you're losing after that.
So you keep your counsel. That's, you keep your counsel in yourself. You move on to your next decision, That's why you have to program yourself, next decision. And then the time for reflection is after the game. And you go, okay, that happened. Why did it happen? Let's make sure it doesn't happen again. Right. And you put your hands up, say, yeah, to yourself and your team, because you have a team of officials around, say, look, I think I made a mistake out there. So let's make sure that mistake doesn't happen again.
Yeah, that's very good, Claire. Yeah.
And that's what you have to get your mind into, I think. So decisions, and this is really relevant. The stronger referees put it to one side and think about the next decision, because there's a snowball effect. It can easily go out of control if you keep on letting it affect you. If you're not concentrating 100%, the danger is you get the next one wrong and suddenly you panic. You've went, oh shit, that's another one wrong. Oh, where am I going with this? Where it shouldn't. It should be parked, left, refocus the mind. 2 wrong decisions can easily turn into 3 or 4. Then the game's got away from you and you're lost. You must learn, and this is where this really comes down to it, you must learn to reset your mind and move on. And it's probably easier said than done. It's okay, me up here saying it now. But it is something you have to start practicing and being aware of, that you are going to make mistakes. So accept that. And how you move on with it is the most important thing. And for me, and I'm going to go back to this again, you only do that by like how many games, right, Johnny? You're a national referee now. You refereed our All-Ireland final last year. Throughout your referee career, how many games do you think you've refereed?
Jesus. Thousands to get where you are. That's my point. I'd say between all them thousands a game, you've picked something up. That's why you're the referee you are now. And I honestly think you learn more from these games that you go. Sometimes you're going on your own. You learn more from them games. I guarantee that any match, inter-county match that you learn, I guarantee you. That's where you build your base. You get your knowledge from these matches, and you get your knowledge from making mistakes as well. And that's how we all learn. Make mistakes, learn from it. Try not to make the same mistake again. It's probably one of the things I'd say. Obviously, you're not learning if you're making the same mistakes again, But games, Claire. It's like what you said.
And the big one I love as well, Johnny, is control the controllables. I'm a big fan of that. Like, I see referees losing the head over you. A lot of things are outside of your control as the referee. You can only control what the official guide says, your interpretation of the game and what you see. So they're the things that are under your control. What the players do are not under your control. If a player comes in and boxes somebody, that's not under your control. What's under your control is reaching to your red card.
That's how you deal with it. Yeah.
What's under your control is whatever you can, and you should control what the controllables are. You don't know what the line are going to do. You don't know what the players are going to do. So you just have to try and control your bubble to the best of your ability. And I think if you can sort of focus on that, it always helps with your decision making. So we're going to talk about resetting, and we said that you are going to make mistakes. Like that scenario was just said. How does it affect your performance? How do you get on the second half? Have you lost your concentration? How did it affect you? How do you reset your mind? And we're just going to go through a bit of it now. So analyze. After the play is over, the referee should analyze what happened. This should be quick, factual, and focus on what he or she can control. Get into the habit of asking yourself these questions. What went wrong? Stick to the facts and focus on tactics or technique that are under the referee's control. Can I fix it now, or does it need to wait until later? So that they're really, you're analysing, and I don't mean you're taking 10 seconds, You're analysing strictly on the spot after every decision, you know, and then you maybe realise something went wrong. Can you fix it there and then? Or does it something that has to be fixed later on after the game? And that could be the silliest of things, in terms of you could be wearing the wrong footwear and you could be slipping and missing decisions. And at half time, you could go in and switch to football boots, or switch to studs, or switch to moldies, or I know a lot of referees are wearing the sort of trail shoes, etc. now. But that could be something that is actually, when you've looked at your decision making, I'm in the wrong positions, I'm slipping and out of place, and I think it's down to my footwear. Can I change it now? Yes, I can change it at halftime. So it's something factually that you can fix. However, if it's something to do with, you know, a tactical foul or a technical foul, then you might need to go away and think about it and think, how can I make sure I don't miss them anymore? Is it because I'm really taking my ticks really badly? Am I missing my ticks during my advantage? That's something you can't fix really there and then, but it is something you can reflect on and go, all right, I'm going to make sure when I'm ticking in my scorecard that I have perfect, or another example is if you're taking a score from the game, a lot of our referees would now use the technique 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when they're looking down, you can see it straight away instead of tallies, you know, so it's working out. And it's not overthinking, it's just working out what happened. And can you fix it there and then, or does it have to go on? The big one is reset. This is the key transition moving forward. There are a few techniques that help facilitate this transition. So this is making sure we've talked about a problem's happened and how you move on. How do you reset that head? So there's a couple of ways, and I've already told you about my breathing. So it is factual. Take a deep breath. This taps into the body's nervous system to shift from stressed. Focus on the mistake to engaged. Focus on the present moment. So if you take a deep breath in, you're forgetting. That's you letting that go. When you blow out, you're blowing out that mistake. Right? I'm back here. I'm back, as Johnny put it, on the next decision. That's it gone. I've inhaled the mistake. I've let it go. I'm on to the next decision. So breathing can cause a huge momentum shift because it actually is going in with your nervous system. Another one, tense and release muscles. So actually tensing up and then releasing your muscles. This physical process helps release the excess muscle tension. So you're actually releasing the tension in your muscles that may have occupied the stress of the air. So if you've made a mistake and you know it and you automatically tense up, you can't help it. That's what you do. It's like you grind. Some people grind their teeth. You know, you're going because you're nearly going to yourself. So you have to go, release it, let it go again. And I love this. Identify the win. So the W.I.W.N. And that's, if you take anything, try and take one of these points out of it. The win means what's important now. And that's a really great way to reset your mind. What's important now in the moment. It is time to get your head back in the game. So what's important now is where a referee's focus needs to be for the next play. That's what's important now. You can't change what just happened. So you have to learn to reset to be in the win. What's important now? What's important now? What's important now is that you don't make a mistake in the next decision. So you have to be up for play and concentrate and ready to go again. The trigger, and I like this one. Finally, the referee uses a trigger word or movement to get his or her mind and body locked in. So you pick your own trigger word, something that works for you. Use a focus trigger like a word, like a body movement or self-talk to get locked in on the focal point. So what's important now? So if you see teams playing, a lot of them, if they make a mistake, they'll say, next ball, and they're encouraging it to say it to the forward, you know, next ball, and even them and hearing their teammate, you know, it sort of gives them the confidence, okay, let that go, let's go in the moment, the next ball. As the referee, you know, you have to think of a word that you can maybe re-trigger yourself. So, you know, you've made a mistake, but you're thinking, how do I get myself back in the moment? What's important now? What's my word? Or what action am I taking? And a trigger simply can also be a signal to the mind and body of what is about to happen and the referee's intentions in that moment. So what the trigger is telling your body and your mind you're moving on. And that's how you've trained your mind. And it can either be, again, a mental word, or it could even be a physical action, you know, even a clap of the hands, or you know, you've give yourself a click of the fingers. You go, right, let's go, and that's you saying, I've made that mistake and I'm moving on. Let's go, Claire. Next one. So you have to work it out yourself. You have to work out what's important now, and if you can do that to help reset your mind, I think you'll really gain a huge advantage. I don't know what Johnny or Aidan, if any of you have any thoughts in that process.
I suppose it's always with me. It's just next one, and I mean, anyone ever heard me mic'd up to be talking to myself? I'd say, next one, Johnny, next one, Johnny, next one, and that's what it is. And it's very simple, really, you know. But it can be hard because if you're dwelling on decision before, you're clouding your decision, you know, the next decision that you make. So you have to just park it and forget about it and go next decision. Because if you're not, it's going to snowball if you don't. You know what I mean? It's going to keep going. The next one is going to be dodgy. You're not too sure, and then God knows what you're at. You know, just forget about it. Move on. Next decision.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's just a simple one for me, you know.
Folks, I have a wee video. It only lasts about a minute or two, just on the reset button. So they're talking about athletes, but I thought you could really relate to it regarding referees. So have a listen. Hopefully, Emily, just let me know that the volume's okay. Oh.
Well, this is another confidence killer that's obviously associated with perfectionists that can't let go of mistakes. But I find that all athletes tend to struggle a little bit with holding on to mistakes instead of just moving on. I think it's part of human nature that you think about that mistake and you think about, how am I going to improve? How am I going to do better? How am I going to not make that mistake? So that's one of the problems that hurts your confidence, is when you're thinking about, I don't want to do that again. You know, I don't want to give up a turnover. I don't want to throw an interception. When you're focusing on mistakes, then you're on the back of your heels and you're playing tentatively and scared that you don't want to do that again. So, but beyond that, it hurts confidence because it's going to lead to more doubting. If you're replaying that mistake over and over again in your mind, and you're thinking about how to correct that mistake, number one, you're not focused in the moment. And number two, in addition to not being focused in the moment, you're also dwelling and hurting your confidence because you're questioning, why did I do that? I don't do that in practice, for example. Okay, so what's the solution here to confidence killer number 8, dwelling on mistakes? Step one is, once again, the awareness model, awareness, education, and application, is, what do I tend to dwell on the most? What particular mistakes? Is it when I make that double fall? Is it when I miss that easy shot that I should execute? Is it when I make a turnover on the soccer field? What specifically are the mistakes that you struggle with the most? So once you have that defined, then the next step for you is to find out what's a better response or what's a better reaction to that mistake. I call it changing that old reaction to the new reaction. The new reaction is something like, hey, even the best athletes make mistakes, the pros make mistakes, I'm not perfect. So you're rationalizing with yourself that, hey, mistakes happen, it's okay. Stuff happens out here and I got to be able to accept that. That's half the solution, though. The other part is you've got to move on. And I call it a move on statement, right? Moving on, right? We're moving on to the next shot. We're moving on to the next point. We're moving on to the next play. So you got to have something like, hey, that's in the past. I need to get to the next play. Hey, I can't change that. Let's move on. Let's focus on what's in front of me. Let's focus on the fourth quarter or this play right now. So that's the part two of it. So part one is rationalize and tell yourself you're okay, right? And then the second part of that is tell yourself, hey, I need to move on because it's not going to help me to dwell on that mistake. No, easier said than done, but once you have a new response ready to go, it's a lot easier to apply that in competition.
You might think that, you know, that's about obviously the mind and resetting it. And I just thought it was a really good clip, and when I was listening to it again, I just actually finished watching the U basketball series on Netflix, the coaching one that they have, and he's a basketball coach in America, coaching high school in America, and he talks about the response all the time. He has a mad player, and he's so bad tempered, and he walks off training all the time, and he's always saying to them, "You're getting riled up. You can change your own response. What is your new response? That's your old response. What is your new response?" And I just think people might think I'm mad. I just think it's really relevant to refereeing. You are in charge of your own response. That's something you can control. So whatever situation happens on the pitch, you're in control of your own response, whatever it is. And when we're talking about resetting your mind, I think it's really easy. You don't overthink it. You accept that it happened and you move on. You rationalize it. It was done. It's in the past. You move on. And my new response is, I'm going to stay in the moment of the game. I'm going to go into the next decision. And that's what you have to decide for yourself through self-talk, or you aren't going to dwell on it. You're going to move on. You're going to learn from it, and you're going to come out better from it. So what will help me reach the ideal mental state? And again, as I said, loads of different techniques will work for different people. So I'm just going to give you a quick run through some of them. Relaxation. Some referees might take a few moments out to gather your thoughts and refocus. That might be what they need. Quiet time at halftime. They might want to talk to their officials. They might want 5 or 6 minutes on their own, or they might want 3 or 4 minutes on their own to gather their thoughts and then talk to their team around them. Concentration. Not lose focus on the game and hold concentration throughout. Johnny has said it a million times today. Break the game down into small pieces and gradually get through the game on the next decision, the next 5 minutes, the next 5 minutes. Visualization. Visualize how you deal with certain situations. So when they occur, you're armed with the ideas on how to deal with it. So what am I going to do if in the first 5 minutes of the game I have to give a penalty? You know, what do I do then? Where do I step in? Am I talking to my umpire? Where am I signaling from? What do I do if there's a player comes in and doesn't have their gum shield in their mouth? What's my response then? It's to send them to the line to get it back in. What if a mentor says something to me? You know, you're thinking of different scenarios that possibly might happen, and how you deal with them. So if they do happen, you're mentally ready and you know exactly what you're going to do. You're linking it to the rule book and you're dealing with it. We talked about it a lot. Emotional control. The focus at all times should be on positive feelings. Example of these are confidence, determination, relax, and of course, overall enjoyment. Hopefully everybody's doing this because they enjoy it, and that should really outshine the rest of it. You should get a real buzz and a real kick when you leave the pitch. Attitudes will control of referees' behaviour. If you think you can, you will. You think you have to be the best, then you won't be. Be yourself. You know, if you think you will, you will. That's your mind. So important. But also be you, be yourself, you know, don't change. Awareness, be aware of your strengths and development areas. Work on your areas of development and visualize to do so. Again, know what you're really good at and know maybe what you need to improve on, and that's the way you get better. Affirmations is good to have affirmations that deflect pressure. Muhammad Ali said, "I am the greatest." He said this because he believes it. This may not be a usual statement for a referee, but other positive affirmations could be, "I never let emotions affect my officiating," or "I always spot the flash points." These are positive and will give you confidence. So I don't want you all running around singing, "I am the greatest," you know. But I think if you have a couple of wee buzzwords that really help you, you know, if you know you're good at something, you know, say that, you know. Don't be afraid to say it. Say, "I'm really good at my technicals. You know, I'm really good on the overcarrying. I stick to the 4. You know, that's something I really pride myself in." And that helps, gives you confidence because you're always going back that. You know I'm really good at that. You know, don't be afraid to build up your own confidence because that can get you mentally ready. You know, I'm here because I made them good calls. You know, that's what you're doing. You're taking that element of it. I'm really good at spotting stuff before it becomes into a flash point. You know, if two players are niggling, I'm really good at saying, you know, giving them a look, or, you know, that's enough. I seen that 2 and 12. So being aware of what you're good at, that's not a bad thing. Although we tend to not really focus on what we're excellent at. So facing challenges. This is something we're all going to have challenges throughout our refereeing career. And I suppose it would be remiss of us to believe that we're not going to have challenges. As I said, the road isn't going to be like that. So you have to have a, have a plan in place for when the challenge happens. Has it knocked you off your plan? Can you go back to your plan? And I think this is really important. You're not alone. Yes, you might be one referee on the pitch, but most of the referees have a support network. You have other referees out there. You have your county board. You have hopefully umpires. You're not in it alone. Everybody has somebody they can turn to. The big one, ask for help. Ask for help and accept support. You don't have to do it on your own. And somebody, I can guarantee you, if you've had a situation on the pitch as a referee, there's another referee that's had it or something similar. So ask for that help and talk it out. Feel your feelings. Let yourself feel that. Be in the moment. That's how you felt. So feel them and then get over it. Deal with it. So don't be running away from them. That's how you see it. It's a challenge. Don't run away from it. Deal with it and learn. Most importantly, learn, and then on to the next challenge. I've overcame that challenge. I don't know, Johnny, have you anything there on overcoming challenges?
I think support network is great. I like what you said. Other referees, I think, is brilliant. Like talking through decisions or talking through certain things that you missed. Like what I said, I go back to that 2016, that assessment that I got. That was probably one of my biggest challenges ever, and thankfully it brought me on as a referee. Like what I said, maybe emotionally more so than knowledge of the rules kind of thing. It brought me on. Learned me how to deal with things, how to deal with feedback, not necessarily, you know what I mean, negative the whole time, some positive as well, but how to deal with that. Like what you said, we're never too good about praising ourselves, but it's a thankless job. You're not going to get every decision right. You're not going to get every decision right, but if your knowledge of the rules is good, your fitness is good, I guarantee you get the major decisions right. You'll get 95% of decisions right. We're all human. Players on the field, they're not going to get every ball. Mentors on the line, they're not going to get every decision right. So don't dwell on it. Get over it. If you made a decision, or if you missed a big decision, even learn from it. Try not to do it again, you know what I mean? But learn every day. Probably one of my biggest things.
Definitely, and that's how you'll overcome them all, learning. Folks, I'm just going to go through the key take-home messages, and if you have any questions, you can just type them in the chat now and we'll deal with them. But that's us for wrapping up for this evening. And my key, hopefully you enjoyed it, but some of the key points I wanted to hit on just before we leave are have a routine for preparing mentally and physically. So as I said, you're always good at doing your warm-up, but how have you mentally warmed up your head going into a game? Mistakes happen, accept them, reflect and move forward. Please don't dwell on them. They happen. Johnny just said it in the last one. Players don't get it all right and coaches don't. Look at your trigger word, figure out a trigger word or something that helps keep you in the moment, because it can be a really useful tool. Take your time and see what works for you, because everybody will be an individual. Surround yourself with people you trust and can support you. I think that's really important. You have to have people you trust around you, because that'll help you move forward up the ranks. And just help you in your refereeing in general. You should only really listen to the people you trust, to be honest, as well. Challenges are a learning opportunity, and I really do believe that. There's going to be a lot of challenges in your way, but if you see them as a learning opportunity, it's going to really help you. It's going to move you forward. Don't see the negative in them. See the positive. How can I learn from this? How can I get better? And I just want to leave on this note. Your setback is the platform for your comeback. That's the way you should think of it. Johnny said that he felt low after 2016. It's only 4 years ago, and it was in the middle of the pitch of an All-Ireland final in 2020. Your setback should be the platform for your comeback. So thanks very much for this evening, folks, and thanks, Johnny. Your contribution was brilliant there tonight, and thanks very much to Aidan, and if any of folks have anything else, feel free.
Thanks very much, Claire. I enjoyed it.
Any questions there, Aidan?
Nothing in the chat yet. Just a few people putting in about thanks for the presentation, but no questions out of yet.
We'll be getting off lightly, Johnny. Hopefully you've all enjoyed it anyway, folks, and you took one or two things away from it. Well, folks, if anybody
I don't
thinks of
think there's any
anything,
questions, yeah.
you can touch base with us. I think that's it. Is it, Aidan?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you all soon.